When the sun goes down, the stars come out. From deep in the heart of Texas, it's the Star at Night. Coming to you from the Cowboys facility at the Star in Frisco. With your hosts, Kelsey Charles and David Hellman.
What is up, you guys? Welcome to another edition of the Star at Night. I am Kelsey Charles, joined by David Hellman. Good evening. Well, I hope it's going to be a good evening come Monday night. But Dave, after yesterday's interview with Catherine Terrell, I'm not so sure about that. Apparently, our new man in charge, Andy Dalton, isn't the greatest in prime time. He sits at a current record of 6-20 and 2-5 specifically on Monday Night Football. And I have to say, we still have a handful of primetime games coming up, Dave. So should we be concerned?
Quite a few, actually. Quite a few. Okay, check this out. I'm going to pump some sunshine here on the Star at Night because in the time since I learned about Andy Dalton's primetime woes, I've had a minute to think about this and consider the fact. Where did Andy Dalton used to play? He played for the Cincinnati Bengals, which, with all due respect to them, they're sort of irrelevant. Like, they are not a big market, big ratings, big passion draw. So when do they play in prime time? They play in prime time when they're going against the Steelers, the Ravens, the Patriots, the Chiefs. The Bengals are only in prime time when they're playing a really good team. So of course they lose a bunch of those. When are the Cowboys in prime time? Literally always. It doesn't matter. The Cardinals are not that good. The Eagles, who they play in prime time, are a dumpster fire. The 49ers, who they play in prime time later this season, also not looking very impressive. So maybe it's just a matter of the sample size. When you're only playing Super Bowl contenders in prime time, you're going to lose a lot. The Cowboys don't have that problem because the Cowboys will play anybody in prime time because they're a ratings draw. So it's not Andy Dalton's problem. It's the Cincinnati Bengals problem. And that's my story.
Wow. Did you just go statistician on me because I wasn't ready?
Did I go full statistician or did I go full homer? Like who can say really? I don't know.
Who can say? I can tell you, though, I do feel a little bit better about my odds now because it all makes sense now. And we're just here to explain it away. We've got another guest, though, who maybe won't be so keen as to just give us a pass. Our friend Kevin Clark from The Ringer is joining us next.
What's up, guys? I'm Ember Garcia and just want to invite you to check out Cowboys Break every day at 11:30 a.m. You got the boss man, Derek Eagleton. You got Nick Eman with the storytelling If These Walls Could Talk. You got David Hellman, our local LSU homer and eyebrow rubber. And then you got me, who just calls it as it is. So make sure to check us out at 11:30 a.m. on all Dallas Cowboys platforms.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the show with Dave and Kelsey, and I'm really excited about this guest. We've had a lot of good guests since we started this show, but for my money, one of the most insightful voices covering the NFL right now. Also, like, one of the most sardonic, I think, voices covering the NFL right now, and the only Magic fan I've ever met. So let's bring the Ringer's Kevin Clark into the show. Kevin, thanks for joining us, man. And if you've got any leftover thoughts about the Magic's playoff run, you can share them here, or we can get right into football, whatever you'd prefer.
Well, I will say that I'm from Orlando, and I might be the only Magic fan I've ever met. So it's not like it's not like it's a common fan base here. So sardonic is a new adjective for me. I've heard it before, but I've never gotten it before. So I'm already appreciative of coming on the show and getting a new adjective.
What do you typically get? I was gonna say.
It depends on where I'm looking. If a bunch of fans are mad at me for saying, NFC East fans are all mad at me right now for saying all the teams are bad. So I get way worse than sardonic right now. If I'm talking about the Giants or the Washington football team, it's way worse than sardonic.
We're gonna get it. So if you're not familiar with Kevin's work, you should be. He does the Ringers NFL cast. He does Slow News Day, which for my money is like the best short video going on the internet right now. So, Kevin, you cover the entire league, and I'm curious about your perspective, because me and Kelsey, we have to be eyeballs deep in the Dallas Cowboys all the time. You have 32 teams that you have to worry about, and I'm curious, this was already a bad division, and now you lose arguably the best quarterback from the team that had the best shot to make the playoffs. How does that change your opinion? Like, when you've got 31 other teams to worry about, what is your new perspective of this Cowboys team and how deserving of your attention they should be?
Well, first of all, I'll say the Cowboys are so popular that you always have to keep an eye on them. If you cover the entire league, their fan base is such that even if they were 0-16, you still have to mention them on the podcast, you mention them on Slow News Day, maybe even more so, because they just have that kind of fan base. So for me, when I'm looking at the NFC East right now, I think that we always look at the marquee franchises, whether that's the Eagles, whether that's the Cowboys, and we say, okay, at some point this team's going to pop, and at some point they're going to put it all together, they're going to get healthier, and they're going to be the team we thought they were. There were really smart people on my podcast who were talking about the Cowboys as a Super Bowl team 6 months ago. Guys like Evan Silva or insightful people like Mina Kimes were saying, hey, this is a real contender because Mike McCarthy's going to solve these problems, okay? And so I think the Eagles, before their injuries, were in a similar boat. We were talking about them as the top of the top in the NFC, along with the Niners and some other teams, the Packers, the Seahawks. And I think the more the season goes, the more unlikely that appeared. And now the Dak injury basically removes the Cowboys from that conversation. I think that Dak was playing a season that I thought was interesting, because I think that people who maybe didn't appreciate Dak before were going to appreciate what he was doing this year. I mean, the numbers he was putting up was unbelievable, despite obviously some defensive problems. I think that if, the Dak contract argument, debate, whatever you want to call it, was basically eating itself at this point. I don't even know where that stood right now, but it was just one of the most interesting and heated debates online, and I felt like that conversation was going to be put to rest this year because of how Dak was playing. So I think from a football standpoint, the Dak injury is a tragedy for football fans, as well as Dak personally. But I think that from a competitive standpoint, it removes the Cowboys from a team that I think can make a run. I think they can still win that division because somebody has to, but I just don't see them as anything other than a one-and-done team with Andy Dalton.
So I actually want to dive into the Andy Dalton situation a little bit more with you, because again, obviously you've been covering the league for a while, and previously with the Bengals, we know he's been at least a part of the dance, but he hasn't gotten the whole thing done. How do you see this playing out for this Dallas Cowboys team with him at the helm?
I think he's steady, and I think that that's one of the reasons. I think, you just look at another team in the division, the Philadelphia Eagles, as what a good backup quarterback can do. I remember Jeffrey Lurie, the Eagles owner, once told me they don't even call it the backup quarterback, they call it the second quarterback, because at some point that backup is going to play. And so I think the Cowboys were really smart to go invest in that position at a guy, obviously, who has Texas roots and would want to play for Dallas and maybe rehab his career a little bit. So I think it was a good investment. I think that Dak would have to have played so well, and he was, for him to overcome the shortcomings of the rest of the roster. I don't think Dalton is capable of that. I think Dalton is a really, really good stopgap guy. I think if the roster was better, or this team was looking like a juggernaut through 3 weeks, I think we'd be having a different conversation. I just think Andy Dalton can win you some games you shouldn't win. I think that they will. This is not a 5-win team or anything, but it's also not a 10 or 11-win team. So I think there's a ceiling with Andy. I think that's not an unusual insight. That was the case in Cincinnati as well. So I think that, I think he can. There's talent on that roster, whether that's Gallup or Amari Cooper or whomever. But I just don't think Andy Dalton is going to bring the team any higher than it would be in a normal season.
So I was watching your podcast the other day, Slow News Day, and again, like Dave said, if you're not watching that already, you need to. It's fantastic. But you had Trey Wingo on, and you guys were talking about how this NFC East is still getting airtime. Like it's beyond you, because again, as we know, it's kind of the dumpster fire bowl after dumpster fire bowl. So how do you see storylines? Are there any left besides tragedy in this division, or what are you watching for this upcoming season and how this all, dogfight? Can you even call it that at this point?
No, you cannot call it a dogfight. No, you cannot.
You can't call it a dogfight. It's basically waiting around for someone to get good. And again, the Dak injury changes that conversation, because I think that the Eagles still have the capability if they got a little healthier. They've had some huge offensive line injuries, but I think generally this is just going to be, I don't want to call it a race to the bottom, but this is a race to see, I almost call it accidentally winning the division. That's what's going to happen. Someone's going to accidentally win this division because they win 8 games. For me, I'm not expecting anything other than maybe some good games. I think it can be interesting. Again, it's not a dogfight, David, but it could be kind of scrappy towards the end of the season if everyone's got 6-7 wins and one team's trying to get 8. And so I think that it could be interesting. But I don't want these teams on primetime anymore. I don't want these teams on Monday night anymore. I don't want these teams on Thursday night anymore. I think these teams belong at 1 p.m. until someone proves otherwise.
So you will be devastated to learn that the Andy Dalton Cowboys are slated for 5 more primetime games starting this week.
Oh, I know. All right. I remember talking to a TV executive years ago who told me that there are metrics that show that if there were networks that just covered the Cowboys all the time, national networks, they would get better ratings than the other teams. Like if an ESPN or whatever just spent a day saying we're just going to do Cowboys news, it would get better ratings than if they said, hey, let's get City and check in there.
Listen,
okay, don't blab that around. Don't blab that around because that's how we have a show, okay? So let's just keep that under wraps. All right, Kev, we really appreciate it. I got one more thing before we let you go. I knew ahead of time that one of your bits on Slow News Day is to read the horoscope, but I don't know that anybody cares about our horoscopes. So here's what I did. I went and I pulled up the horoscope for Dak Prescott. He's a Leo. He was born July 29th, and I'm not making this up. This is just the first thing I found on Google. Dak Prescott, Leo, October 15th, 2020. A legal matter that you may have pending for a while could finally be completed, Leo.
Wow.
It's very likely to go in your favor. Therefore, if you've been sitting on a contract or an agreement or a document that needs your signature, read it carefully before you sign. You will probably get what you want out of this transaction. I'm so serious that I did not make that up. So what are we thinking?
This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable because one of the jokes, like Ryan Russillo's come on the show a bunch, and he makes fun of how vague all of this stuff is. And I remember his joke a couple weeks ago was that he just wants to read a horoscope that says you're going to get a check on Thursday, right? And so that's never the case. It's always super vague. And now we actually have a horoscope that is timely and relevant to a human being. I cannot believe this. This is the first good horoscope ever.
And
welcome.
So do you think you agree? I mean, this injury is not going to stop Dak Prescott's earning potential. Agree or disagree?
I think it might delay it. I think they might have to franchise tag him one more time. But he's going to make the money he was going to make. I think that the Cowboys have no other option. I mean, I've talked to GMs about this, dozens of times where, the worst thing in the world is going back to the well and trying to get a quarterback and guessing wrong or commit, we've seen how much, the free agency game can screw up a franchise if they go that route with quarterbacks and you're overpaying anyway. So I think the Cowboys are smart enough to understand this. Dak's smart enough to understand this. Dak's going to make a lot of money and he's going to be the Cowboys quarterback.
Music to my ears. Kevin, thank you so much for chatting with us. Kelsey and I will be right back after this.
Hey there, everybody. Kyle Yeomans here with DallasCowboys.com, and I encourage all of you Cowboys fans out there to check out Talking Cowboys. The podcast is every week live on the website and on all social platforms at 9:30 every weekday morning. We've got myself alongside Isaiah Stanback, who's actually won one of those during his playing career as a former Dallas Cowboy. He won it with the Giants, but we'll forgive him for that. We've also got Heckma Harrison along with Dallas Cowboys insider Rob Phillips. It's a ton of fun every weekday morning at 9:30. Check it out on DallasCowboys.com.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the show. And I gotta say, I'm a little peeved at our producer Caden because he wanted to play a game in this segment. To be very honest with you, I typically know the answers to the questions when we play games, but I don't today. So Kels, We're going to play a little edition of Guess Who, and it's got real potential to go off the rails because I don't know what we're talking about. So with that,
let me say this. I already lost a trophy this week, so like I'm a little scared for this one, but like yes, let's go.
You should be. I think we have real potential for disaster here. So Caden, let's get into it. Guess Who? Number 1 has over 840 rushing yards and 9 rushing touchdowns in the past 2 seasons. This can be anybody from this week's upcoming game, Monday Night Football, Cowboys Cardinals. So you got a list of people to choose from. What do you think?
It's not Cowboys. I'm gonna go.
I think that's a good start.
I think it's Kenyon Drake.
Oh, that would have been my guess too, Kels. And now I'm seeing the second hint, and I understand how wrong you were. Does that clue do anything for you? Because it does a lot for me.
How about you just go ahead and just take this one home for us, my friend? Because I've already failed once.
That's Allen High School's own Kyler Murray. It has to be. He's never lost at AT&T Stadium. Undefeated as a high school player, as an Oklahoma Sooner. I think he was even part of a game with Texas A&M there. Just what a badass. I like your train of thought though.
Yeah. Hey, listen. I love producer Caden when he thinks outside of the box. Like he's not just going to give us the easy answer. He's just got to make it real tricky on us. All right.
Which is a nice way of saying he's making us look stupid, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I'm totally here for it. Kyler Murray was the first one. Let's get the second one. He has 13.6 yards per catch and 105 yards after catch. Yak attack.
Okay, there's a lot of good receivers in this game. It's only going to be one Arizona Cardinal. I'm not ready to say it's D-Hop though. I actually, if I had to, it's all right. Caden, give me another hint. Is it a Cowboys receiver? Yeah, all right. See, I'm smart.
Okay.
Two of his touchdowns. Oh, you saucy minx, Caden Gates. You want me to say Amari Cooper or CeeDee Lamb? It's Cedric Wilson. How dare you try to trip me up like that? I hate it.
Way too much. Oh my goodness. I wasn't ready.
Cedric Wilson and CeeDee Lamb are the only Cowboys receivers with multiple touchdowns. So
I was going to go with CeeDee Lamb first, but then I was like, that's too easy. He would never just give me the shoe in like that. All right. Well,
all right.
Can't wait for the last one.
Show us the third. We'll take the third one home together. Has never had an interception, but has 4. Oh, yes. All right, Kelsey. I know who this is. At least I think I do. I don't like your odds on this one. But what are we thinking here?
I don't know.
He's got the best name in this game. He's got the coolest name in this game.
Everything I have ever known right now. Like I'm terrified.
Wait. Caden, am I on the right track? Is my guess right? Oh yeah, I am. I'm so smart. Smart. Do you know? It's Budda Baker, one of my absolute favorite draft prospects in recent years. Just an all-around whiz kid safety for the Cardinals. Has never had a pick. If I didn't keep such close tabs on this guy, I never would have gotten that. But you're welcome, America.
Fantastic. Honestly, I literally, the moment you said the best name in the game, I was like, yeah, I feel like that has to be it. You name dropped him yesterday in the show, and I just knew like he was one of your guys from the get-go. So
that's my guy. That is a pet cat all day.
Yeah, I wore my glasses today, but apparently that wasn't going to help my case whatsoever. So shouts out to producer Caden for that one. Guys, it was fun. Thanks for hanging out with us again. Looking forward to Monday Night Football. We will see you all next week. For David Hellman, I am Kelsey Charles. This is another episode of The Star at Night.